working. I don't know why Instagram be taking forever to connect message. Okay, it looks like it must be connected because I see the preview. Y'all know my normal. I gotta test all the social media outlets, make sure that the streaming is actually showing up on my pages. So give me 1 second. Okay, hold on, y'all. Okay, so it is showing up live on my Facebook. Let me double check YouTube. I do not know why YouTube always puts that I need to update my settings because that's my old logo. I don't like that it puts my old logo up for the thumbnail, but anyways, it's live, so I'll update those settings later. Fantastic. Okay, let me make sure that it's showing up for Instagram. Give me 1 second, y'all. See, it's not, I don't know why it doesn't show up on here. You know how you jump on a social media platform for a setting? Now, this ain't got nothing to do with my life. But I just seen Drew Fedora half naked in the feed. I'm like, what the hell? This ain't got nothing to do with my life. All I seen was her pop up in the feed and her titties is out. I'm like, what the hell? I guess Drew says she's single, she look. She divorced round. She like, I'm single and ready to motherfucking mingle. I ain't even mad at it. That was the funny thing is she can't walk in them shoes though. That's what's hilarious. She's really trying hard to be sexy, but she almost fell in the shoes. She do look good though. I'll give her that. Shout out to Drew. That ain't had nothing to do with my life. But since it popped up and distracted me, because like I told y'all, I like women too. I was like, oh wow. All right. Anyways, so I told y'all I was going to come back again tonight. Um, I have no idea how long I'll be on, but I'm getting ready to go ahead and discuss the topic at hand. As always, when I start these types of lives, I always, call upon my angels, ancestors, and spirit guides to guide me, protect me from all energetic, spiritual, um, all types of attacks that have come and that may attempt to rise up against me speaking my truth of what I know from my experience with these so-called churches. And like I said earlier in my other life, I'm fully aware of the spiritual work that certain people are doing because some of y'all have actually um, been shown to me in the 5D, and some of you have even sent messages in the 5D. So for me, this is to bring awareness to the situation, to bring clarity to some of the things that I heard during the Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Like I said, I was sent this link a few days ago, and hold on. And I just was disgusted, but also not surprised, unfortunately. Give me a second because I need to readjust myself in this chair. Yeah, I definitely have to get me a cushion, like an extra cushion, because that's kind of not easy on my back, on my bike. But anyways, so yeah, I watched the whole video. I was sent this link, and you know, for a while, I left the subject alone because one, I care in terms of the people who I've known my whole life. You know, in all honesty, I care most about Jordan because of what I saw was going to happen to Jordan as this child gets older, which is all part of a prophecy, given the ritual that Dwight performed to conceive their child. And for those who don't know, I am a former member of Christ Apostolic Temple. So everybody who was in the comments on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show, if you're looking for the video, I'm going to present it here in a second. And it's titled Why It's Wrong for a 63-year-old pastor to marry a 19-year-old, even though it's legal. So Christ Apostolic Temple is a church that is located in Des Moines, Iowa. I graduated the year 2000, and I stayed with my second mom and my best friend, my sis Elissa, for a few months. And then I ended up moving to Des Moines because of my oldest sister, wanting me to move there to be closer to her. And she was a member of this church, and so was my older brother. So I was raised in apostolic Pentecostal churches, but our churches were at that time, under the leadership of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, aka the PAW, a huge, like mega church, organization. But think about apostolic Pentecostal churches where I am from. It literally is about politics. You can equate the church clergy and leadership to that of like presidencies, politics. Like it's the same thing. It's just titles and levels and positions, and what this position means, and what duties you're supposed to carry out, what type of example of a leader you're supposed to be. So with that being said, I grew up in a church called Greater Bethlehem Temple, which still is located in Omaha, Nebraska. And the pastor of that church, who is now deceased, his name was Bishop Nelson George Turner. For whatever reason, these two pastors and these two churches rivaled, Christ Apostolic and Greater Bethlehem Temple. I mean, I've heard so many different stories over the years, but long story short, the two pastors did not get along. So when I left Omaha to move to Des Moines, there were people from my home church that kind of felt away. But, for the most part, they weren't really tripping. But when I got to Des Moines, it was a complete mental conditioning that the church, quote unquote, church puts you through. They really do isolate you from the people you've known your whole life. They say things like, our religion is the only way, Jesus only, all other religions, everybody else is going to hell. So when you're raised in these environments, in these communities, essentially societies, you don't know anything different unless you have the courage to leave, which most people don't. Because keeping in mind, like my mom joined this church when I was 4, turning 5. So for me, this is all I've known my whole life up until I left. And, God broke my mind free of the mental conditioning and the stronghold. But when you are raised in it, it's just like any other community. You have your families that, your parents before, may have been involved in the church, or a relative might have invited you to the church. And, or a friend, like in my mom's case, her longtime friend, I believe Lorraine is the one that invited her to Greater Bethlehem Temple. And I love my father, but my father was very abusive to my mom. So they were going through a lot in their marriage and eventually divorced. And so we would go to church with our mom every week. We lived with our mom. And then when my sister and I would go visit our dad, we would go to church with him. And he was a Kojic, which is Church of God in Christ. So even though these are different religions, they essentially do believe the same thing, but because each religion has its own belief and way of life and system essentially set up, they tend to rival. And so for me, going from Greater Bethlehem Temple, which was my home church, to Des Moines was a brand new experience. And I was only 19 years old when I joined this church. So keeping in mind, I was actually the same exact age as Jordan, which is now Dwight's wife. So I try to imagine when I first joined that church, what he's doing right now, it would have been equal to me marrying Bishop Jeremiah Reed, his father. That's exactly what it would have been like if when I joined that church, his dad had started to try to court me, which he wouldn't have because he was married and old as hell. Um, and honestly, I saw him as a father figure, but I'm just trying to paint a picture of how fucked up this dynamic is, and the fact that so many people, because they're brainwashed, because they're mentally conditioned to believe that the pastor can do no wrong, they're going along with it. Then there are those who have said that it's wrong, but y'all still fuck with the church. And that's the problem that I have. And some of y'all are not even members of this church, but because you have relatives who are members at this church, you play both sides of the fence, or you don't give an opinion, and your silence is compliance. Now, I left this church. I joined when I was 19 at the very end of the year 2000 because I graduated in May. I think I moved to Des Moines like November. Yeah, it was right around my birthday. My birthday's in November. So moved there in November, stayed with my sister for a little bit, and then I got my first apartment by myself on my own when I was 19. And I was a member there from age 19 until age 25, turning 26. So I was there for about 6 years. And when I was a member there, Jordan's father, which is James Goodlet, and her mother, Gloria, we were all in the choir together. Their brother, James's brother, Garrison, also was in the choir, and him and I were friends. So these are people who I've known well over 20 years. And that's why even when I first found out Dwight was married to Jordan, it literally made me sick because I'm like, what do you mean he's married to this baby? Like, she's younger than his own grandchildren. Like, this is like, what the hell? And I really didn't believe it until I was shown on social media because I just couldn't believe the audacity. Um, Background with this church, people have asked me, how do cults exist? Like, how did you guys get caught up in this cult? Again, when you are raised in a society that to you is normal, you don't see it as a cult. You see it as, this is my church home, these are my church leaders, and you're raised to follow the leader. Literally, you're raised to do what they do. This is what they teach you. This is what we believe. This is our religion. Here's our church mission. Here's our church logo. And we're Jesus only. There's only one way to heaven, and everybody else is going to hell. And when that is instilled in you day after day after day, because keeping in mind, we went to church damn near 7 days a week. And if you weren't in church service, you were at choir rehearsal. If you weren't at choir rehearsal, you were in the kitchen committee. If you weren't in the kitchen committee, you was with the young people. If you wasn't with the young people, then you was with the musicians. Like, you was there. This is your life. This is your home. This is your environment. This is your everyday outside of work and school is church. And then keep it in mind, my uncle that died from COVID was a bishop. Now, he was a bishop in his own church, not associated. Well, all the churches were kind of, connected, I guess you could say, but it's not like my uncle was a member at Christ Apostolic because he had his own church in Lincoln, Nebraska. And even with him, he was a bishop, and, you get elevated and they go through these consecration services. A lot of the same rituals I've seen with Freemasonry, I'm gonna just be honest with y'all, really do go on in these apostolic churches. Quite a bit of the leadership are Masons. In fact, that's a whole other lie. But I'm just saying, it's very similar, the rituals that go on. And so this is a society where they teach you that you are to be like extremely holy. When I joined Christ Apostolic Temple, I was told that we couldn't wear pants. Women could not wear pants. We could not wear open-toed or open-heeled shoes. It got so extreme to the point where we couldn't even wear skirts that had splits in them. Like if you bought a skirt from the store and it had a split in it, they had people at the church that they would have us take our clothes to have them tailor the clothes to sew the splits up. So we're all walking around, can barely walk, trying to look so holy. But behind closed doors, y'all are doing so much corruption. And that is the reason, like, that I'm now using my throat chakra to speak about it, because I sat silent and obeyed and did what I was told my entire life, even to my own detriment. And a big part of my healing and counseling is speak about your experience. Why try to protect the image of those who hurt you? Why try to protect the image of those who took advantage of others? I mean, when I started talking about what happened to me, I had no idea all the other people in these churches who had went through the same thing that I did. It was people reaching out through DMs, messaging me, sending emails, calling, texting. Oh my God, the same thing happened to me. And they told me to be silent too. And see, silence, the reason silence is compliance is because if no one talks about it, it does not get exposed. Therefore, the predators and the people who are doing these things will never get caught. So you're covering up for abuse by being silent. And for me, when I tried so hard to get help to those who had confided in me, told me like that certain things had happened to them, and no one wanted to do anything, everybody stopped fucking with me. I mean, this was before I left the church, which was why I left. Because the few people who I did confide in, like, hey, such and such child told me XYZ happened to them and that it happened to them by a member of the church, and no one wanted to do anything, then I was like isolated. So then I tried to, on the low, go to the law, and they were like, well, without proof, it's hearsay. So like you would have to have some of these children, they would have to be able to come forward to corroborate what you're telling us. Otherwise, we can't launch an investigation without, any sort of proof. And of course, when a society has you conditioned that if you go against the church, we're going to turn on you. Well, no one wants to be the outcast. I witnessed these pastors literally excommunicate members from the community, from the church, and it caused people to have mental breakdowns, even some people that became suicidal. Because again, this is all you know. This is your life. This is your family. This is your friends, everybody you've known your whole life. And you don't want to be the outcast. You don't want to be the one that that nobody talks to, that nobody fucks with, that nobody likes. And so for me, it was a lot of, and I'm Scorpios, we're silent observers. I would silently observe a lot, and to the point where I couldn't anymore, especially after I got raped, because that changed me in a way I can't even explain. It just made me, part of my mind left after that happened. And that was honestly the beginning of my deprogramming from the mental bondage, because going through something that traumatic kind of takes you out of reality for a while. And I didn't know what to do, like most women, when you're in shock, and then you just lay there and you don't know what to do. And it took me so long to even tell Bishop Jeremiah Reed what had happened. And these pastors, behind closed doors, be on some thug shit. Niggas be having guns and threatening people and stuff. So he's like, well, we could just take him out. And I'm like, no, because at that time, I loved him more than I loved myself, even after what he did. I didn't want him to be hurt. I wanted him to get help. And that's what I told Bishop. I said, I want him to get help because he does not remember doing it. He said he blacked out, which it definitely was a spiritual experience. There definitely was a demonic presence that was on him at that time. The man that had raped me, who, I had planned on marrying, it definitely was a demon that was on him because his eyes rolled in the back of his head after he started to rape me. And so for me, I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, Bishop, I don't know what to do because this is somebody I love, but I don't trust him. I don't feel safe around him. I don't want to live with him because we were living together. And he was like, well, move out. I'll look out for you. You can counsel with me, but don't go to the police. Like, don't tell anybody. Just be silent about it. Keep it between us. And something that traumatic, you can't be silent about. I did try though. I did for like years. I didn't talk about it. And it ate me up. When you don't deal with trauma, it comes out in other ways. It manifests in other ways. And it took me going through a really painful time in my life where I had started to lose relatives to death. People around me started to die and things like that. Then I was having miscarriages. And so I started grief counseling. And that was when we dealt with the rape. That's when we actually talked about in detail what happened. And even the therapist was like, I can't believe the pastor told you not to get help and not to report it and to be silent about it. But again, when you are conditioned, you will do what the pastor tells you to do because you believe this person is your spiritual leader and they have your best interests in mind. So the reason I went into that was to try to paint a picture to those on the outside that did not grow up in this environment to understand why those church members are sitting there cheering Dwight on when this shit is dead ass wrong. Is because in their mind, when you've been brainwashed and you've been conditioned, and this is your pastor, you will do whatever that pastor tells you because you really believe that what you're doing is for God. And I think back to that, like I had a mental breakdown after I was raped, but I stayed at the apartment with him for about 1 or 2 days and I cried all day, every day. Like I called off work, I called off school. I didn't know what to do. And then I just packed up everything and left. And he tried to find me. He called Bishop Jeremiah Reed. He called all my friends. And I tried to go back. I couldn't stay. I wasn't comfortable. So I remember leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back. And then that last time I just left for good. And I left the church. I left everything. And Bishop Reed tried to get me to come back to the church. So I left the state. Like I left. And, I came back. He's like, daughter, this is your church family. We love you. And it never dawned on me until I was in counseling. She said, why did you go back? I said, it was my church home. She was like, but a church home would have protected you. They wouldn't have told you to be silent. So when I found out all the other people, there were other women at that church who had been raped, and some of them said they were raped by Bishop Jeremiah Reed, which broke my heart. Because with me, he was never like that. He was like a father to me. But given the things I've seen and heard and have experienced, I don't put nothing past nobody. And the worst thing you can do is invalidate the experience of someone who has endured and survived rape and sexual assault. Now, I don't know if Jordan experienced like a trauma in her childhood that made her become attracted to older men. Typically, when teenage girls go for older guys, it's either for money or because they were sexually abused by someone that was older, and so they even though it's fucked up, they feel safe with older men. I don't know if that happened to her. I kind of feel like maybe something could have, but I don't know for sure. What I do know is that her biological father, James, who I was at church with, his father came on to Bishop Senegal's clubhouse. This was last year. He came on to his clubhouse broadcast, and Clubhouse is a app that you can download from Google Play or like the Apple Store, and you can do broadcasts without video. It's just like strictly audio. And he went into detail and told us, because I even was like, why would Jordan marry Dwight? Like, it just does not make sense. She's way too young. Like, what could you possibly see in a man that's in his 60s and you're 15? And so he explained how basically Jordan's father, James Goodlett, he has a music studio, which he's had that studio since we were all in church together. So, I mean, he's had it for years. I guess from what I was told, it wasn't really doing too well. And Dwight, decided to invest money into James's studio in exchange for being able to date and marry Jordan. Now, again, the reason I can say this is alleged is because this is what Jordan's grandfather told us. Because that clubhouse broadcast, I was present during the broadcast. And so were some of the members from Christ Apostolic, some of the former members. And her grandfather said, yes, it was a business arrangement. If he invested in James's studio and into Garrison, which is her uncle, his chicken restaurant, then James basically gave him permission to start dating Jordan. And he told us how James gave Dwight permission to start going on supervised dates with Jordan at age 15. And at that time, she was a student at the Christ Apostolic Academy. What's crazy about all of this is, like I said, Dwight was never a member of the church when I was there. He was a thug. He was out in the streets. He was on drugs. He would come to church high, fucked up, drunk, cussing people out, swinging on people, swinging on his dad in the pulpit. They fought a few times. Security had to like drag him out a few times. So for me, those are the memories I have of you. Is you coming in and being mad disrespectful and fucking up our service. And then your ex-wives coming to church with bruises on their fucking faces and trying to wear glasses and sit in the choir with glasses on. And then in the bathroom, take off the glasses and you see the shiners on their faces. So for me, that's what I remember of Dwight. And yes, people can change. Yes, people can heal. Yes, people can grow. I'm upset because I really thought Dwight had changed. And my mom, my brother moved her there because, she's getting older in her health. And she asked me a few years ago, what do you think about me being a member there? And I said, well, you know how I feel about that church because of what happened to me. Yeah, I love Bishop Reed. He was definitely like a father to me, but the whole rape and then people talking shit about me after it happened that didn't even know I was raped. Yeah, I felt away. I said, but if that's where you feel, God is leading you, then hey, so be it. And so for a while, I really believe, especially after Bishop Reed died and Mother Reed died, which are Dwight's parents, he seemed to have changed until you start going around town dating a fucking 15-year-old. Then it's like, oh, no, it's the same old shit that he was doing back in the day. But now he's in the pulpit doing this shit, which is complete blasphemy. Because, see, when I was a member at this church and I was doing the spiritual work, the exorcisms, the cleansing, the prayers, all of that stuff, Dwight was being accused in Louisiana for messing with teenage girls and allegedly messing with teenage girls and allegedly messing with little boys. His dad told us during meetings, I need y'all to pray for my son because for whatever reason, he has a thing for blonde-haired, blue-eyed little boys. Like, he would tell us this stuff to pray for. This is your father telling us this shit. So to me, his energy was always gross. It was always creepy. But I thought maybe he's changed. And, the church is looking out for my mom and she's happy there. So I'll just let the past go. And then next thing you know, all over social media, he's broadcasting pictures of Jordan sitting on his lap. I mean, it just looks so disgusting. And then I'm seeing the members who were also there when I was there, who are cheering this on. Like, do y'all not remember when her mother Gloria was pregnant with her? Y'all don't remember when she was a little baby running around church? And now, how does a 63-year-old who has had 3 ex-wives who all have admitted to him being physically and sexually abusive to them, how do you get it in your mind to marry an 18-year-old teenager? How do you get it in your mind at 60 to start having supervised dates with her at 15 and she's a student at your school where you were the dean? And yeah, you stepped down and you resigned because people started gossiping, because they started seeing you and Jordan around town, because Des Moines is very small. So now you're out on public dates with a teenage girl who is younger than your youngest granddaughter. And how does the church accept the grooming? I think it's because they don't see it as grooming. There's people that do, and they talk shit about Dwight, but they still go there because, well, my family's here, so family goes here, so I gotta go here. Or, well, she's grown now, but she wasn't when they were dating. And I don't believe for a second that you dated a girl from 15 to 18 and you wasn't fucking her. I don't believe that shit. The only thing I can think of is maybe because he's so old, he just wanted somebody he knew he could control, who's easy to manipulate. A teenager who hasn't even had a chance to live their life, go out to a club, go out and get drunk, go out and just do things that teenagers and 21-year-olds do. You picked the granddaughter of one of the wealthiest leaders, Dr. Goodlett, who's an actual doctor. You picked the granddaughter of one of the wealthiest leaders in the organization. And you, according to her grandfather, you made a deal with her biological father, and he gave her away at the wedding. So I'm about to play this video from the Rickey Smiley Morning Show. I'm going to periodically stop it and comment because some of the story that they have isn't accurate. So y'all give me a second to go into presentation mode. Because the people I talked to about it, even today, they all say, yeah, that's a pedophile. I don't care what y'all say. That's a pedophile. Because don't know, like at my age, I'm not even ashamed to tell my age. I'm 42. Everybody's like, you don't look like it. There have been dudes that have tried to holler at me, try to date me, that are 30, 31, 32. And they cool, but they're young. So after a while, you get annoying. It's the truth. Women too. Like, because I was taught to a male or a female that's a little bit younger. But 15, 18, that's a child to me. Even 21 is too young because you ain't lived life. You ain't got no experience. You just, dumb and need to go out and experience life. To each their own. But I just, in my mind, I can't wrap my brain around 63 and 18. That you have nothing in common. The 18-year-old has not lived or experienced life. Your old ass has experienced life at least 5 times longer than she has. And let's also keep it real, because this isn't uncensored. Like I said, Just B Show is raw and uncensored. You know damn well you are not keeping it up for no 18-year-old. We know you taking all the blue pills in the world. Probably injections too, testosterone injections. Keep in mind, I used to work for United Health Group, so a lot of older men will call in to order their testosterone injections so they can inject their dick to be able to fuck these young girls. I'm quite sure that's some nasty ass shit your old ass is doing, which is ridiculous. And what you don't realize is that when she turns 21 and 25, whether she got 2 or 3 kids by you, she gonna go do her. One of the women on the Rickey Smiley thing said, oh, she going to be the death of him. No, actually, he's going to be the death of himself, because I've already seen it. The child is going to sacrifice her as an actual ritual. The child that they conceived together, I've already seen it. That's why I'm praying for Jordan. That's why I'm speaking about this. I really pray to God that does not happen. But I haven't had a premonition once that hasn't manifested, especially as it pertains to death. That's when my gifts activated. When I was 9, I started having premonitions of people's funerals, and then they would die. Still happens to this day. That's why I said God shall not be mocked. Y'all can play around in these pulpits. You can set the tone to make grooming be normal in the Apostolic Pentecostal Church, in your church organization. But if you think God is about to let you get away with that shit, you crazy as hell. And to those that are sitting in the audience cheering them on, I pray that your mind is set free. I really do. Because I remember when I was you. I remember when I was that member sitting in the congregation letting everything that shouldn't have happened happen, including staying at a church when I was raped and the pastor told me to be silent, and I should have left and never came back, but I left and kept going back because it's my church home. That's why I pray, no matter how disgusting this shit is, I pray that y'all minds are set free, because if not, what I've seen is about to go down. I told y'all last year I saw chains on the door at that church. I saw Dwight get killed in prison. And then I seen the son, as a young adult, sacrifice the mother. Because what you're not going to do is make a mockery of God in these pulpits and try to make this shit be normalized. It's bad enough that so many of us endured sexual abuse as children and adults, not only while being members at these churches, but from members of the church, from clergy, from relatives, from babysitters who were all church members. So you can have us walking around looking holier than now, but y'all be doing the devil's work behind closed doors and deceiving the people, making them think that they are serving God. That is by definition idolatry and blasphemy. Now, before I go into them scriptures about that, let me go ahead and share this video from the Rickey Smiley Morning Show. I hope y'all can hear it.
Some stuff up in Iowa. There is a...
Hold on.
About that time, Jeff Johnson got 3 things you need to know. Jeff, good morning.
By the way, if y'all can see this, y'all see this picture right here? What about this? Let me see. Does it let me make it big?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good to be with you all.
What about this looks right? Now, when they took this picture, she had just turned 18 and he was already 63. This picture actually breaks my heart the more I look at it.
Happy Thursday.
Happy to have you.
Yes, sir.
Man, so what's interesting is you all just spent some time talking about one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which is this bishop in Iowa.
Pause. And this nigga made himself a bishop. And I'm going to talk all the shit I want about Dwight, because nigga, I know you for real in real life, outside of this bullshit, outside of this church. I've been to your father's house. I've been around your family. I know who the fuck you really are. He literally made himself the presiding bishop after his father died. Jeremiah Reed, who was my former pastor, he died May of 2018. And I had heard March of 2018. By May, Dwight had made himself presiding bishop. I remember asking my homegirl, I said, how the fuck he made himself presiding bishop? That's something you have to get selected for that. You have to go through consecration. Like the board has to decide. Because keep in mind, I was a part of these committees where these decisions were made when I was a member under his father. So I'm like, how the hell, who made him presiding bishop? They said he made himself presiding bishop when his dad died. This man has never been in the church. Not while I was there. He was never a member. This nigga always been in the streets. Doing dumb shit. Fucking around, allegedly with teenagers. Wives always talked about how he cheated on them and beat the fuck out of them. Then you in the street doing street activity that is not becoming whatsoever of a pastor. You got your hands and everybody in the streets know who the fuck you are to this day. But soon as your father dies, you see an opportunity to make money. That's the reason he's in this position, y'all. That TV broadcast, the Apostolic Oneness Network, I was a part of the committee that founded the Apostolic Oneness Network. That's how I learned how to become a videographer, a B-roll specialist, a video editor, post-production, and digital marketing. Because when this motherfucker wasn't nowhere near the church, we, as in his father, his mother, myself, the TV committee, and the board members, we started the Apostolic Oneness Network with the satellite dishes. And Bishop Jeremiah Reed brought in local TV stations to actually professionally train us. And we had to go through certification and testing. I still have a copy of my certification award I got from them training me how to become a videographer and a TV B-roll specialist and a TV broadcast editor. That's how I know how to edit now. I was trained on Final Cut Pro, and then I taught myself all of Adobe Suite. So I have been editing for 20 plus years because of his father, when this nigga was out in the streets doing everything. So when he tried to come on TV talking about our station that we founded, bitch, your ass wasn't nowhere near the church. And I'm pissed off about it because the lies that have been told to try to make him to look like he's some super holy, you ain't shit, my nigga. And I don't give a damn who gets mad. I don't give a fuck who got shit to say. I was there when your ass was nowhere near the church. All you did was bring about chaos and drama every time you brought your ass around church. That's all it was. That's why I'll never call him a bishop. That's just Dwight. I even had told my mom that last couple times we talked a while back. I said, I love my mom. I respect her. I don't cuss around my mom. I said, but that nigga always going to be Dwight. I will never refer to him as a bishop because he's not a pastor. He's a crook. He always has been. And it's about time somebody brought your ass to justice. It's about time that your ass got exposed for the fuck shit that you've been doing for decades. Talking about bishop. Bishop my ass, motherfucker. You ain't shit, and I don't give a damn. I told y'all this live was gonna be uncensored. I'm not playing because this shit got me so pissed off because this is not the first time he did some shit like this, and it's the audacity for you to go public. Now, technically, you proven everything everybody said about you for years. And then have the nerve to jump down in the comments. Let me address this shit right quick. Have the nerve to jump down in the comments under Bishop Senegal's post from last year when I commented under his post and told him people who the fuck he really was. I said, and Robin Andrews with her nasty fat ass, she had the church in Hannibal, Missouri that Bishop Jeremiah Reed would send me and the other SWAT team members to go down there and be having to pray spirits out of her church. And why do these churches keep getting infiltrated with demonic presences that won't leave? How are people becoming possessed by demons in a church where God dwells? It's because of this type of bullshit that they be doing behind closed doors. You can't say you're of God and you're doing sexually fucked up shit like this. Y'all want to talk about gay people, but you don't talk shit about these fucking pedophiles. And a pedophile can get invited to the church dinner. A pedophile can get invited to the family cookout. But God forbid if you gay, you going to hell. But a pedophile like this motherfucker right here, who's been accused of pedophilia for decades. Your own stepdaughter got on Clubhouse and detailed how you molested her. And you did it several times. And I tried to tell y'all last year. I told y'all the year before because I've been talking about this shit. I've been talking about this shit before Jordan and Dwight ever got together. I was like, how the fuck y'all pastors, because there was other pastors doing fucked up shit. Like one of the pastors that raped his own stepdaughter and got her pregnant and made her have an abortion. And she had a whole entire mental breakdown in the middle of service and told on him. Told the whole church. And they put him out only because she put him on blast. And to this day, her mind ain't right. This has happened to so many people, and men too. The person that raped me told me that he was molested and raped by one of the female babysitters that was a church member. She used to put porn on for him from the ages of 3 to 8 and make him watch porn while she was quote unquote babysitting him while she was doing stuff to him. And then his father, who was a well-known deacon that recently passed away, he molested, from what he told me, he molested one of his sisters, then the sister molested him, which is why he had that fucking demonic presence on him that ended up causing him to rape me. When I tell y'all that this demonic sexual shit is real in these churches behind closed doors, it's real in these motherfucking churches behind closed doors. They be doing nasty shit. And they will seriously threaten and intimidate you to not say shit. And there's so many. There are hundreds. There are thousands of people that I recently found out who all went through some shit where they either was molested as a child by a church member or raped as an adult or both, just like me. So you want to know why I be so livid about this shit? Because it don't make no goddamn sense that so much abuse and sexual immorality goes on in churches, but them same hypocritical members will sit up and talk shit about gay people. And I love the fact that this shit came out right before Pride Month, because I've already accepted the people that fell back for me when I came out about my sexuality, and I don't give a fuck, because I accept me. I love me. Period. Your opinion don't fucking matter. What you think about me don't fucking matter. It does not change how I feel about myself. And when I get married, I'm going to have a husband and a wife. And those who ain't comfortable with it, you won't be invited. How about that? Literally. Because I'm like, how the fuck? This shit is cool though. It's okay for this nasty ass motherfucker to marry an 18-year-old at 63. It was okay for him to date her for 3 years, supervised visits. But she wasn't on supervised visits when your ass was getting caught around town at Jordan Creek Mall in Des Moines, Iowa. You wasn't on supervised visits when people saw you taking her shopping. So you trying to be a sugar daddy to a teenager who you think, yeah. Even just saying this shit is ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous. So yeah, for those of y'all that was commenting on the Rickey Smiley video, no, her father is not absent. Her father arranged this bullshit for money, for profit. And this nigga right here ain't never been a member of the church until his father died. Like, I'm not even bullshitting. He never was a member of that church, ever. He saw a financial opportunity, and it sucks to even say it, but it's the truth. He saw a financial opportunity after his father died, and his mom, Mother Reed, bless her heart, her mind wasn't right because she lost her husband. And from what I was told by your relatives, Dwight, you had her to sign over their estate and the ownership of the church and the Apostolic Oneness Network when she was also dealing with dementia and she was not in her right mind. So you took advantage of both your parents for profit and gain. And then you took a teenage wife to make grooming become normal in the church. But we all know if your dad was alive, you wouldn't have done this shit.
63-19. And I mean, Rick, you know, I have 5 kids. I have one daughter, my oldest, who's 25, and then I have 4 boys. And as I think about this issue in particular, you know, so often we deal with the girl's age. And for me, it's just about talking to my kids about all of this, especially my older kids, 63 years old and 19. And we focus on the sex component of it, right? And what the law was in Iowa. And the reality is that most state laws say that 16 and over is the consensual age for sex. But there's a difference for me between law and culture. And a law tells us what's allowed. A culture says what's acceptable.
Right.
A law says what can you prosecute. A culture says how we going to hold you accountable. And a law gives guidance on what is permitted, and culture tells you what's tolerated. And my problem is less the law and more the culture. Because who in the hell in a community allows this to happen without accountability and ensuring that this dude knows that this is not tolerated? So legal is one thing. He talked about when a man finds a wife, he finds favor. Well, I got something under my bed I call favor, and he would find it if it was a 19-year-old and a 63-year-old. Because my issue is this: he talked about we sleep good, but here's my thing: I don't understand what a 63-year-old talks to a 19-year-old about. I don't know what we have in common.
Right.
I don't. So if we talk about marriage, if we talk about love, we talk about partnership, we talk about relationship, there is nothing that aligns us as human beings that makes that acceptable. To hell with the law about sex. What in the hell is a 63-year-old doing spending time with what is a 63-year-old man doing spending time with a 19-year-old girl at all?
And what's
like, what do y'all even discuss? Now, I'm going to be real with you. This was a conversation I had with one of my homegirls behind closed doors, because she the one that told me about this shit when it first happened. I said, what the fuck do they talk about? I don't even like talking to 19-year-olds. Because all they talk about is Snapchat and TikTok and stupid shit. So, like, for real, she's 19 now. She was 18 when you married her. You was 63. You probably talking about your AARP and your arthritis and all of your ailments and business and money. She's on social media. She's on Snapchat. She's on TikTok. There's no level of maturity that you could have a conversation with her to tell her about what went on in your childhood, because what went on in your childhood was before even her parents' time, because you're old enough to be her father's father. I just, I'm so glad that I'm rewatching this video because it validates all the shit I've been saying for the last few years that other motherfuckers got mad at me for speaking out about. When I tell you, I love how the Most High works within the universe. Because those of y'all that talk cash money shit about me 2 years ago, now you see what the fuck I was talking about. Mm-hmm. I forgot I had ate that cucumber. Little seed went down the wrong way. But now y'all see what the fuck I was talking about. When I first went in on this nigga on my private Facebook page, I said it then. I was like, what do they have to talk about? There's too big of an age gap for anything that she is interested in as a 19-year-old. So the only thing you could possibly be talking about is church shit that you've conditioned her to. Like, I remember I looked at, my homeboy had sent me the link to the church's, I don't even want to call it a church, it's really a fucking cult, but to the church's Facebook page. And before I blocked the page and Dwight, I took screenshots, which I'm going to upload later, where he has Jordan in these clothes. I swear to God, it looked like she was in Nita Mae clothes. Nita Mae is Dwight's sister. Like, for real. She had on clothes of like a woman older than me, a woman like in her 50s. And I'm like, so he's trying to make her appear to be older than what she really is. And you have her talking about first lady when it's literally your fourth wife, not third, y'all, fourth. And she has not lived long enough to know anything about running a church. See, my mother was a pastor's wife. I watched what pastors' wives go through. I have friends in the church who also were pastors' wives. They know what pastors' wives go through, especially in the apostolic church. Being a pastor's wife is equivalent to being the wife of a rapper. You know, everybody's after your nigga. You know, his position gives him power to get however much panocha he wants to get. And you're expected to put up with it. She's 18. Do you think if he's groomed her and being a sugar daddy to her, that she's going to go against anything he says or tells her to do? And then allegedly it was said that they were engaging in threesomes with some relatives of his, that supposedly him and a cousin and her, the three of them got together. So you got to think about the motive behind the age gap and the connection, because as long as we're married, it's not considered a sin before the people. But if we're not married, then the church people will talk. So I'm going to keep letting this video play, because later on in the video, someone's going to talk about statutes of limitations. And the lady who brought that up, you definitely on point with that.
What's his social circle, Jeff? What's his?
Oh, listen, man.
What's his friend group like?
My ass.
Right.
My boys will whip my ass. If I even imply, and here's the other piece of it. We have got to protect our children from anybody that is preying on them. And the fact that like I just have I would actually have a problem if this was a 63-year-old and a 40-year-old and a pastor had been counseling this person in their church. I think that's inappropriate, because at some point you got to have boundaries about where is your spiritual guidance, and the fact that you are supposed to be spiritual covering for people. And then you are getting into the most intimate aspects of who they are and what they need and what they don't have and where their weaknesses are and where their triggers are. and then manipulating that in a person.
Oh, I'm so glad he broke that down. I'm so glad he broke that down. Because amongst the group of those of us that left the church, we talked about that specifically last year. This also all plays into the members that y'all see that are cheering them on and in agreement with it. The majority of the people who I was at this church with, we all have been through some traumatic experience. You know, it's people who, like my mom, she was in an abusive marriage. So she joined the church for a sense of, safety, a sense of love, a sense of acceptance. And these churches are, by definition, narcissists. And the reason I'm going to break that down, a narcissist will love bomb you. They'll love bomb you. They always want to find out what your weaknesses are. That way they know how to become what it is that you desire and what it is that you're looking for. And they prey on your vulnerabilities. So these churches do the same exact thing. Literally. They prey on your weaknesses. They prey on, those who have been through a lot. It's so much easier to manipulate a person who has suffered abuse. That's why even myself, like when I found myself attracting narcissists and people that were abusive and me getting pulled into abusive relationships, I wasn't seeing the pattern of the love bombing and then the devalue discard. Just like when I had left the church after being raped, it was like at first, oh, we love you, we miss you so much. And then it went into, if you don't come back, we're through with you. Like his dad had told me, Jeremiah Reed, I'm through with you, God's through with you, you're going to hell. When somebody tells you that, who is supposed to be your leader, it destroys your mind. So the fact that that guy on the phone even broke that down, that is where these pastors who commit this clergy abuse, that's how they get their power, because you have a church of people who are damaged. That's why people come to church. They're looking for hope. They're looking for acceptance. They're looking for love. They're looking for guidance. They're looking for God. And because they have not had the spiritual experience that I have had, where I learned that God is within me, they seek God from without. They seek God from an external source. And then you have broken people, you have abused people, you have people with mental illnesses, you have people with traumas, you have people like the sex offender that was at GBT that raped the teenage girl in the choir room. You have people who are fucked up. And it's so much easier to manipulate and control them until they break their conditioning, like I and hundreds of other people did. And that's how Dwight and these other leaders get away with this shit, because they prey on that. They're counting on damaged people to walk through those doors, who they can manipulate and control and get money from and get to do whatever they want them to do. It's the truth. That's like, for those who have directly asked me, how do you be a part of a cult and not know it's a cult? I'm stopping this video and explaining this shit for a reason, because now y'all can see why. If this is the community and this is all you've ever known, just like I have my high school homegirl, she's Catholic, and she's like, I don't agree with everything that they say. She was like, but there are some things about it, that I do hold dear. She's like, other stuff I don't agree with. And, we talked about different things, but even with her experience, she wasn't going to a church where they are mentally conditioning you to hate other religions and hate gay people and to judge and condemn others, while also teaching you to accept physical and sexual abuse and mental abuse. That is literally what a fucking cult does. And these people don't know that they're in a cult. My fam, Maurice, that wrote the book Divorce in a Cult, he came from this same church. And matter of fact, him and Jordan are closer in age than me and him are. I think he's about 10 years older than Jordan. And me and him talked about this last year. And matter of fact, we talked about it on Kim's Live on her YouTube channel. And we explained, like, for those that were like, well, how do you not know? It's a society. It's like any other society. So when you grow up in this and everyone around you, this is what we believe, this is what we do, you're taught not to question shit. So yeah, they're definitely counting on broken people to, keep them coming to the church. People who I've witnessed people have actual mental breakdowns during the middle of the service because of everything that was going on in their life. And the pastor comes around and shows them love and comforts them and, oh, we'll help you. We'll do anything for you. Yeah, as long as you're going along to get along. But the minute you start to speak out like, hey, XYZ that's going on ain't right. Oh, then everybody stops fucking with you. I can remember when I left the church, and again, nobody knew I had gotten raped. I had left the church and the church members knew where I worked, because I worked at the mall. Matter of fact, I had 3 jobs at that time. I delivered newspapers in the morning before school. I was in college. I went to class. I worked in the computer lab as tech support. And then I got off work and went to work at Dillard's. And on church nights, I would work up until church service and then leave. On the nights we didn't have church, I would work until we closed. And I can remember like church members coming inside at Dillard's in my department, and they would look at me and keep walking. They wouldn't speak to me. They wouldn't acknowledge me. I would speak to them. They would just ignore me. And this is my church that's supposedly my family. All because, well, you ain't been coming to church. But again, they didn't know I had been raped. And that I had left the church and came back because of me being raped. So it's like you have this society where what the pastor says goes no matter what, even if it's wrong. And they would tell us, well, pastors aren't perfect and, they're human too. But something as egregious as grooming, which is exactly what Dwight did, and it wasn't the first time. It's just that now his arrogance and his ego got him to where you're now on full display with your preference of inappropriately younger women. See, before it was, oh, y'all are lying. Well, this ain't a lie. This is all over the internet. Been all over the internet. Because you put it out there, Dwight. And then, like I said, you had the nerve to jump down. I guess he went and made another Facebook, because I've been blocked him since last year because I was tired of seeing that bullshit. And I guess he went and made another Facebook page and had the nerve to try to come on my page, this page, my Just D Show page, and talk shit. Then he had some of his members come into my page, posting random comments under, my content, talking shit. And talking about, that's a lie. Nigga, everybody ain't lying on your motherfucking ass for over 40 years. Because keep in mind, I was a member there over 20 years ago. You have been getting accused before I was a member there. Because the members there told me, and so did your father. Because I spent time at Bishop Reed's house because of the committees that I was on. Like our SWAT team committee, we had a lot of our group meetings at Bishop Reed's house. And we were on call with jobs. If a member called Bishop and said there was spiritual activity going on in their house and it happened in the middle of the night, every SWAT team member got a phone call in the middle of the night. Y'all got to get up and go to Sister So-and-so's house to go pray these demons, these spirits out of her house. I need y'all to pack up and go to Hannibal tomorrow to go pray the spirits out of Robin Andrews' church. I need y'all to go to Sioux City and pray the spirits out of the church in Sioux City. So trust me when I say I've spent a lot of time with your dad and the church and the SWAT team that we were sworn to secrecy about all the shit he told us. And a lot of it was about your ass. And you had a church in Louisiana that got shut down because there were people there that were reporting to the police that you were messing with their teenage daughters. Well over 20 years ago. So like I said, he been doing this shit. He just never got caught. So you wait till your father died to pull this fuckery, and you think God's going to let you keep getting away with this shit? Now, the members can sit there if they want to, but that church, that cult, is going to be shut down. I've already seen it. You will be convicted. You will get locked up. I've seen that too. So talk all the shit you want to about me in your pulpit and down in the comments, and, you know, send your little minions and send your little coven members to pray the same prayers that your father used to have us pray against people. It will all fall immediately and be reversed right back to y'all 100,000-fold, and it will be bound to you. Because I cancel the assignment of every attack. I'm a high priestess. I'm the manifestation of the Most High in this realm. You're not coming against me. You're coming against the God within me. Understand that. Understand my angels, ancestors, and spirit guides, and even your demons fuck with me. Understand that. See, spirituality and spiritual warfare is not a game. The reason your father chose me for that committee is because of how powerful I am. Capital I am. The Most High is within me. I've cast out demons being a member of that church. I've cast out and done exorcisms. You will never prevail. Because angels of light and dark work on my behalf for my highest good, for the highest good of the Most High. So the very people that you have sending prayers to me, them same entities and energies they praying to, they fuck with me. They bow down to the Most High within me. In everything you have said and done against me, Dwight Reed, because I know it all. It's all being reversed back to you and everybody involved, 100,000-fold times 3, and bound to you. It will fall immediately. You will never prevail. I keep telling people you will never prevail in coming against me. Death will surely come. Spiritual, physical, financial, mental. Every intention that has been evil against me and other people who have left this cult, who have spoken out, the very ancestors, the generational curses that we're breaking, they're going to destroy you. Because you've gotten away with this shit for way too long. And I know for a fact, I tried everything I could to get help for those who told me that they went through what I went through. And as much as I loved your father as my leader, your father was fucked up too. Because there was shit that I found out recently that was going on when I was a member there that I didn't even know about. In addition to the shit that I did know, that I reported, that your dad didn't do shit about because he did not want, quote unquote, another scandal coming upon the church because the church is being investigated for fraud from all those, quote unquote, committees and what do they call that? Community service that y'all wasn't actually providing. The youth programs that never fucking existed that y'all got government funding for, that I got receipts about, that y'all don't even know I got them fucking receipts about. Yeah, you tried to scrub the web because I went to the websites, Dwight. This all happened under your leadership. Once you became pastor, you went and tried to scrub the internet of those articles from Polk County where they were investigating your father in the church for fraud, for financial fraud. I have all the receipts before you scrubbed the internet, my nigga. So you taking over this church, you hitting licks off of the church people, you hitting licks off of the goddamn TV broadcast that we started to try to help God's people, not to hurt them, not to take advantage of them. All this corruption that has been exposed is the work of the Most High. And the more you try to come against me and the other members who are speaking our truth, the more and the longer you are prolonging the curse upon your own seeds, not just your son, because you got other kids. You got grown kids. You got grandkids. You're fucking up all of their lives doing this shit. Because a generational curse goes to the seed and the seed. So the only way to break this curse, Dwight, is to stop this fuckery right now. And to literally repent and go back to God and be genuine about that shit. Because this bullshit right here, this grooming, this disgusting pedophile crap you got going on that you're trying to normalize, and now all these other teenage girls is looking at older men for her. When I tell you God is, you have no idea what's about to come upon you, Dwight. You better stop while you can, while you still breathing. I'm so serious. And like I said, I love my mom to life. But I don't even understand how you can sit in that congregation and act like this shit is cool. And I don't cuss to my mom, but this is on my live. How can y'all sit there and act like this is normal? And then to go on and on and on about the baby that he was, while on the Apostolic Oneness Network, bragged about. He said, and he went into detail, and I kept that video. I still got it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to upload it. He said, they told me to get rid of my dad's bed that he died in. And I said, no, I want to keep the bed so me and my wife can lay in it and create. He was like, we're going to create another Jeremiah. Has anybody seen the movie Conjuring? 1, 2, or 3? Pretty sure some of y'all have seen the movie Conjuring, right? Okay. Do y'all know that when you summon a spirit through sex, that by definition, that is what fornication is? Fornication is not sex before marriage. It is communicating with, summoning, and conjuring spirits during sex. He explicitly went into detail about how he kept the bed that his father, my former pastor, died in the house, and how he slept with Jordan in that bed, and verbatim he said to raise up another Jeremiah, and that is the name of their son. Now, to those who are not like me, who are not spiritualists, who have researched all this shit, who have researched demonology and spirituality and all these things, that's what's called a sexual ritual. By definition, you look in any sort of text, dark text, dark Bibles, dark spell work. Yeah, you can summon a demon through sex. That's what fornication is. You can summon a dead relative through sex. That's verbatim what Dwight did. See, his arrogance and his ego and his pride, which those are all Luciferian energies, are the reason he's on blast right now. because you had the audacity not only to do this shit, but to publicly broadcast it, to normalize it. And some of those very pastors that sit on your pulpit have been accused of rape and pedophilia and molestation. See, because here's the thing about church kids. We talk amongst each other. We won't tell the parents what we know and what we've seen and what we've heard from other kids, but we talk amongst each other. A lot of y'all sitting on the pulpit at Christ Apostolic Temple are pedophiles and rapists. A lot of y'all have been accused of pedophilia and rape and then told the victim or threatened the victim to be silent. In Maurice's book, Divorce and a Cult, there's so many letters from members, former members, who all have detailed surviving abuse, whether it's sexual, physical, mental, emotional. And it broke my heart to hear the ones who suffered that abuse by the hands of Jeremiah Reed, Dwight's father, who was my former pastor. Because again, when it came to me, he was never, I'll take that back. He was like that when I left. Yeah, when he told me that God was through, that's the first time he became like mentally and emotionally abusive. But he, like for me, he never tried to come on to me or do nothing inappropriate. And I think a lot of times, a lot of them pastors didn't do that because they know I'm going to tell that shit. And it ain't going to happen, number one. Like, I'm not going to let you do that shit. Because when you're a survivor of molestation and rape and you have that fight or flight, for me, it's more fight than flight. You try to overpower me, oh, it's going to be you before it's me. Because I promised myself I would never allow another person to overpower me the way I was overpowered when I was raped. So that's number one. Now, I was raped after, like towards the end of my membership there. But even before that, I was celibate. So my energy was very much bitch, standing bitch face. Like, you don't even try me because it ain't going to happen. When it comes down to it, and I'm hearing all this stuff, people coming to me, people DMing me, people calling, texting, thank you for sharing your story. It set me free because the same thing happened to me. Because I'm an empath, I could feel them. I could feel all their pain. That's why I had to stop reading Maurice's book because I could feel them. Empaths feel feelings. We feel energy. We feel vibrations. So if I come in your presence, I feel exactly what you're feeling. And I was like, so you mean to tell me all these hundreds of people are lying on the church? Then Dwight want to get his punk ass in the comments talking shit to me. Bitch, fuck you. Straight up, fuck you, my nigga. You ain't shit. I don't give a damn what nobody thinks. I said what the fuck I said. You are a complete piece of shit. And I can't wait for your motherfucking ass to get locked up. I cannot wait. Because the problem is you refuse to go get help. You refuse to go figure out why the fuck you have a fetish and an affinity for teenage boys and girls and children. And then got the nerve to talk about, I'm a protector of children. No, my nigga, you've been accused of molesting. You have been accused of molesting and raping several. But you ain't got caught. And yes, some is alleged, but your stepdaughter, that's your stepdaughter. She's like, I'm not making this up. And the whole time she was talking, I could feel that shit. You did that shit to her. So yeah, you sick, something wrong with you. But since you won't get help, you need to get locked up. And I hope Jordan takes you for all you got. I swear to God. I hope she takes everything. I hope the whole entire Reed empire gets transferred to her because that's what the fuck your ass deserves. You deserve to lose everything because you nasty as hell. You a piece of shit. And then you sat up and talked shit about me, Maurice, and everybody else that left and spoke our truth. Having her to even talk about your own nieces who was talking about they didn't even know all this shit happened to the oldest one, Jerry daughter. She's like, I didn't even know all that shit happened to y'all. She's like, I am so sorry. I had no idea. So y'all hid this shit from your own relatives because you didn't want the truth to get out. So guess what God did? God exposed you. And now everybody's talking about this shit. So you motherfucking right, I'm going to speak my truth. I have absolutely no one else to lose because I've let go of everybody. Even the ones right here in Houston. I love y'all, but I'm not fucking with y'all no more. Because you two-faced and you still fucking with this nigga in this church. Y'all go out of town and visit and still be kikiing with these people. The Bible says you make a difference between the clean and unclean. I'm about to show this scripture on 2 Thessalonians 2. Oh, let's just start from verse 1 because I was going to go down to verse 12. 2 Thessalonians 2. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and by the gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as of the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for the day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Dwight, that's where you are right now. This is you. Verse 3. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Yeah, that's this shit right here. That's the shit you want. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. It was crazy is Lauryn Hill's Mystery of Iniquity song just came to me. Soon as I saw that, soon as I saw Mystery of Iniquity, I thought about her song, and she spoke about this in her lyrics about, she said, blatantly blasphemous. That's what this shit is. Blatantly blasphemous. Because ain't nothing godly about this bullshit. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with his spirit out of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. Dwight, you a lying wonder, my nigga. I'm just gonna tell you that shit right now. You a whole lying wonder. You are a whole entire lying wonder. To think that you got this girl sitting on your lap. And not only, let me break this down, not only at the church, this is his father's office. This very chair he's sitting in is the same chair his father used to sit in when we would have our committee meetings in his office. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Verse 11, and for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. Strong delusions that they should believe a lie. And you got the nerve with your old ass to be threatening people and talking about whose life you finna take out and how you finna send people and all this and that. I told y'all last year I had a premonition of Dwight on the road with certain members from the church, including one of my own relatives, which from what I was told, they're no longer members there. But I'm pretty sure he's still friends with this nigga. And I had a premonition of him traveling with guns and with a little church mob, if they think they little church mafia people, traveling, trying to kill everybody who left the church that started speaking out about the bullshit that happened to them. And I saw the car crash and explode right before it reached the city where I was at. That pulpit is nothing more than a place for you to stand and spew demonic deception. Because first and foremost, only a person who's tapped into a low vibrational entity could see this being okay. I look at Jordan's face. I look at her cheeks. I remember when she was a baby. She looks the same as when she was a baby. Big cheeks, cute little smile, running around the church with her curly hair, wilding around. Like, I literally remember when she was like a baby. And this is just the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Talking about we sleep good. Yeah, I'm sure you do, because you stole all of your parents' money, estate, and ownership of a church you were never a goddamn member of. Ever. That you only cause chaos and confusion in. And the fact that there was a shooting at the end of your father's funeral in March of 2018 should tell y'all something. Because you got thugs who follow you coming to the church to a funeral of a pastor they was never even a member under. Literally in the congregation, inside of the shooting was not outside, y'all. It was in the congregation during the service. And we all hit the floor. Because a bunch of 20-something-year-old stupid niggas was in there fighting over a girl. During the service, during the funeral. Y'all be thinking these Midwest towns that's smaller ain't got shit going on? I keep trying to tell y'all, they all got hoods. The whole north side of Omaha is the hood, and Des Moines got a hood, mostly on the east side. Hell, when I lived there, we all knew don't go to the east side. Because in them smaller cities, they ain't got shit to do. They don't. So they do dumb shit, like run around in gangs and shooting each other. But what church has a shooting during a funeral? And y'all got armed security guards inside the church. I remember when I was a member, I was like, I used to ask myself, why do the security guards have guns? Like, why does a pastor need armed security like he's the president? And they were like, because there's a lot of people that's after him. And but why? He's a pastor. You know why? Because of the fuck shit y'all be doing behind closed doors. That's why. That's why. So, you know, people that get mad because I be cussing and using the scripture. I'm a spiritualist. I am not religious. So I'm also grown. I speak passionately. I'm a goddamn Scorpio, but I know the Bible. That I do know. That I do know. And what I also know is that grooming and pedophilia is not of God. You can say that she grown and they can do what they want. Nothing about this image and this picture is godly. Let's go back to the video.
Personal relationship is totally inappropriate. And so whether we are talking about, and it was funny, some people seem to get angry with me when I was talking about Diddy a couple of weeks ago and talking about the fact that we need to deal with this issue of a culture of grooming that exists within our people. It happens in.
So I'm eating my cucumber, but funny that he said Diddy, because one of the ladies I was talking to earlier today, she was like, so this man ain't no different from Diddy and R. Kelly. I said, nope, not at all. Grooming happens in the church just as much as it does in the music industry. Any sort of position of political power, like Buddy just said, it's a cultural thing. It's acceptable for men to be whores and have a whole bunch of women. And it's acceptable for them to do nasty shit like grooming. Just like with the whole Freaknik, stories that went out, and they was talking about how all these young girls was wild. Just a whole bunch of nasty ass pedophiles being around young girls, just like all the producers that they're now exposing were dealing with Aaliyah and Foxy Brown and Little Kim and all them when they was same age as Jordan, 15 and 16-year-old. Yeah, that shit goes on. If it's a position where men feel like they have power, they're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do, because who's going to stop them? And that's one of the things about this video that I'm glad that they touched on, because no one's holding Dwight accountable because he made himself the presiding bishop. So Dwight literally exalted himself just like Lucifer did. You put yourself in a high-ranking position so that no one could question you or hold you accountable, because the presiding bishop doesn't have anyone to answer to except for the committee. And in order for him, it's just like presidency. When a president gets impeached, he's the president, but he can get impeached. Well, no one's going to impeach Dwight if everyone's benefiting financially from him being in that position. Because one thing he has done since he took over the church is maximize the revenue by turning what we started when he wasn't there, i.e. the TV broadcast, you turn that into a for-profit business. Like, I heard that he even is charging people for studio time. We used to be at the church writing songs, doing music sessions, and coming up with what we're going to sing on Sunday for hours after service. They wasn't paying us for that. So now you charging people to use the studio at the church, you charging the saints to stream the broadcast. Like, the fuck, that shit was free. When the only thing members had to purchase at that time, because this was way before streaming became popular, when we first started the TV broadcast, you could purchase a satellite from the network and have unlimited streaming for life. It was a one-time purchase. And if you couldn't afford to actually buy the satellite, then Bishop Jeremiah Reed would allow us to still watch the streaming for free. But no, now he charges like all you did was take over this church to monopolize on it. And there's nothing wrong with having a strategy and making money, but there is something wrong when you're doing that and you're taking advantage of church people. When you've taken over your father's church and turned it into a for-profit church, when it has always been or always was portrayed as a nonprofit organization. And not only are you monopolizing, but you're still lying on paper saying it's a nonprofit organization. So you are getting government grants, but you're also charging the members. How the fuck does that work? So his whole motive for being the quote unquote bishop was just to make money. And now you want to act like some sort of church pimp by having this teenage child sitting on your lap. And this is all over social media. Now, some of them young girls that used to be kids when I was there that are now, her age, I even heard them talking about, I need to get me a older man so he could take care of me. So now you even have it in the minds of the young people that not only is this acceptable, but that this is what they should be going for, that this bullshit is relationship goals. When it's straight up pedophilia and grooming. That's why the fuck I'm talking about this shit. Because like I said, I don't like that the people that are there, but these are people who I care about and love. These are people who I've watched grow from babies to young adults. These are people who I've spent time with as family. And you have turned what once was supposed to have been a church into a complete shit show and a circus show. And then you wonder why people are speaking out against it.
in the church. It happens in the movement. It happens in hip hop. It happens in schools. It happens all over the place. And so
I want to know who the damn people that was egging him on and yelling amen. Like I'm just trying to figure out like, what
they just as bad as he is.
It's nuts. It literally is saying we serving this baby up. You talk about sacrifice. We serving this baby up to this dude.
Yep. Y'all bear with me. I'm doing my cucumber that I do at night after I eat my dinner. Exactly what he just said. He said, you're serving this baby up. James Goodlick, you gave your daughter to this man for profit. I don't know, James, what happened to you as a child, but everything about this dynamic screams childhood trauma, sexual abuse. Maybe you were abused as a child. I don't know. I know that one of your sisters had a lot of emotional issues, and I always kind of felt in her that maybe she had been what I went through as, a young girl. Maybe she was molested. But I think about all of my nieces and nephews and how they are like my children to me. And how passionately I would pursue someone Dwight's age that tried to court or groom them. How passionately I would make phone calls to make sure your motherfucking ass didn't breathe no more. So for the life of me, how could you give your daughter up to this nigga? And James, what I'm saying is true because you were at the church with me when Dwight would bring his ass in there acting a fool. So it says a lot about you, James, because Gloria's mind is not right. And from what your father said, you and Dwight would not allow Gloria to be at the ceremony between Jordan and Dwight. So James, what is it about you that you could give your baby girl up to this man who is this old, who you saw as well as I did, his ex-wives come in that church with black eyes? You saw as well as I did all the times he swung on our former pastor, his father. You saw as well as I did all the times he came to church high off of meth, high off of heroin, high off of coke, high off of crack, drunk as fuck. How can you give your baby girl to a predator, James? What happened to you that you did this? I can't wrap my brain around how a man gives his teenage daughter to a 60-plus-year-old man for profitable gain. Just so he would invest in your studio that, let's keep it 1,000, really ain't never been that great, even when we were in church before. So he could invest in Garrison and Monica's chicken restaurant in Des Moines. And Garrison and Monica, I'm calling y'all out too, because y'all have a daughter. How could the two of you be in agreement? How could all of y'all be in agreement with this shit? We all was at that church together. I can't understand it. Garrison is James Goodlet's brother. Monica is his wife. James and Garrison have another sister, Jessica. I don't even know where Jessica's at, but I know for a fact that Monica and Garrison are still members at Christ Apostolic Temple. How can you go to church and quote unquote praise God and know that this old ass nigga is fucking your niece? Just because he invested in your restaurant. When I tell you the wrath of God is going to come down on all of y'all businesses are going to be shut down. I just seen it in the 5D. The chicken restaurant is getting shut down. The studio's getting shut down. And I heard poverty. Clear as day. I just heard that. Y'all might have gotten away with this shit for a little while. But the way that this situation is going to end is unfortunately going to be devastating. Jordan, I pray for your soul. I pray that the demonic force that was put on your son during the ritual Dwight did with you that you weren't aware of, that he gets set free of that. Because I'm hearing 17 and 27. There's going to be 2 attempts on your life when your son is 17 and 27. The second one, I saw him succeed. This is why I hate my gifts sometimes, because I see and know things I wish I didn't see and know. I pray right now that you are set free. I pray that your son is set free. Dwight, you're going to reap what you sow. But Jordan, please, if you hear this live, please understand that what is going on right now involving you is not of God. Please understand that. And to the members that are cheering it on, may God have mercy on y'all souls, man. That's all I could say. Because the agreement with this bullshit is insanity to me. The cheering on and praising this and bragging about the baby, it's the blind literally leading the blind, and they're so blind that they can't see what they're doing. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. They don't understand what they're being a part of. Because everything Dwight is doing is being influenced by Lucifer. Literally, the spirit of Lucifer is upon him. I see it on his third eye. He's right in the position he always wanted to be in. He wanted to be in a position of power. He had to wait for his father and his mother to die. And I can remember praying for Dwight after Mother Reed died, because I even told him, I said, I couldn't imagine losing both my parents and still, trying to carry on a church, because at that time he wasn't on this bullshit, or at least he wasn't on it publicly. I'll put it that way. So it makes me almost want to vomit when I really think about that. Like, you took advantage of both your parents dying to take the money that they had left to take over rulership and to capitalize. And then you chose a teenage girl for a wife. And now there are a lot of people in agreement with it. I hate to tell y'all that. As much as, those of us who clearly see that this shit is wrong, there's so many people that feel like it's okay. And the very people that feel like it's okay are sitting in that congregation really believing that they're following God. Again, Lucifer was a fallen angel that transformed into an angel of light to deceive people. This right here, that's some Luciferian shit.
And applauding it while it's happening. And how many places is that happening and nobody's talking about it, where they're not covering the story, or because it's not a marriage with an idiot that thinks it makes sense to publicly talk about sleeping with a 19-year-old and y'all sleeping good. But at no point, what's even crazier is at that point, you really know it's nuts.
I thought I was watching that felt like the damn color purple.
If you are married to somebody and you love them and you honor them, the first thing you talking about is not being in the bed.
Right.
Like it
Well,
incenses
I
me.
mean, he's bragging, Jeff. He's boasting, and he got a crowd behind him because he probably could sing good, or he probably could preach good.
He definitely can't sing. Let me just stop the video right there. No, Dwight can't sing worth a damn. Dwight, I'm be honest. Dwight can't preach good. Dwight studied his father's behavior. The very first time I listened to him preach, after my mom became a member there, I could tell that he watched a lot of the videos from when we started TV broadcasts of his father, because he sounds identical to him, like someone, just like an actor, an actor who goes to different environments in different countries and different places to study and observe those environments so that they can bring that energy into their scene. Essentially what Dwight is doing is acting. So, and I'll be honest, I don't feel that he preaches well. I feel that he has carried the energy of his father, and that the members who are still there that were under the leadership of his father feel a familiarity because he sounds just like him. The very first time I heard him preach, I was like, that's kind of creepy, because he sounds identical to Bishop Jeremiah Reed. For someone who was never an actual member of the church, that means that you sat there and studied his preaching style so that you could mock it in order to make the members who were left after Jeremiah Reed died feel comfortable. But no, he definitely can't sing.
Or whatever, and he got them folks in church he have won them over.
Yeah.
So we have to challenge our leaders, our spiritual leaders, our religious leaders. They can be challenged as well. They can be wrong and they can be called out.
And I don't
not an apostolic church. No, they can't. No, they can't. I'm gonna tell y'all this. These churches, what they do is, like his dad, he would call certain people out by name over the pulpit. In fact, he even did it to me once. When I went out of town to visit my homegirl, who was a church member, like she was the daughter of one of the preachers that was affiliated with our organization. And I just went out of town because it was like a church where they had a lot of young people and everybody was cool. And I was like, man, I'm gonna come visit y'all and we all kick it or whatever. He called me by name over the pulpit in front of the whole church. Why'd you out of town without my permission? Now, I told you I was 19 when I joined. I wasn't aware I had to have the pastor's permission to go out of town, because the church I was raised in Omaha wasn't like that. Yeah, the pastor's the overseer of your soul, but like, goddamn, I got to get permission to wipe my ass? Like, literally. So the pastor can call everybody else out, but if you challenge a pastor, you know what they're going to do? They're going to have security guards come escort you out of church, and they will ban you from the church. They will never let you come back in. In fact, they even ban you from entering the gate, because like the church has a big gate around it for like you to have to get through the gate to actually get onto the property. They even will have security guards at the gate blocking you from entering with your car. So yeah, unfortunately, once you are in a position of a presiding bishop, that is the highest ranking within the Apostolic Pentecostal Church. Think of a presiding bishop as a pope. Pope doesn't really have to answer to people except for a committee. It's the same exact way in the Apostolic Pentecostal Church. Once you're at a presiding bishop, no one can check you. No one can hold you accountable outside of the board members. So that's how he's able to do this shit.
And I agree with you, Maria. I don't condone violence, but I know some people that do. Why don't you find them? I didn't say that on the air. I didn't mean that. That.
I feel you, though.
I didn't mean that.
Feel you. Jeff, let them know how you can be reached.
Yep.
All right, y'all. More Rickey Smiley Morning Show coming up.
And I wish some of y'all would mess with my wife, Jordan. Talking about what you gonna do if you see her. Well, you will see me on the news. Let me just tell you that right now. Talking about what you gonna do if you see her. You better walk by and say.
And what's crazy about this Because we talked about this also during Bishop Senegal's Clubhouse broadcast last year. The same people that he's snipping his pulpit, literally lying, talking about, well, and y'all talking about what y'all gonna do when you see Jordan. No, nigga. People said if they see Jordan, they're gonna tell her to leave you. Wasn't nobody trying to threaten your wife, threatening to hurt her. It's like, bro, like me, if I see her, look, Jordan, baby, you got to get up out of this. Not people trying to threaten her. And you see how comfortable he was with projecting that thug bullshit. Yeah, his dad was like that. There was a video that surfaced, what was it, 2 years ago, of Jeremiah Reed. No, it was longer than 2 years ago because it was before he passed away. Yep, it was before he passed away. So this had to be 2017 because he died in March 2018. Where he, and it was all over YouTube and they took it down, where he was threatening one of his relatives, allegedly his grandson, and talking about, I got people that'll cut your tongue out and dump you off in a river. That's a Masonic ritual. Again, that'll be a different live. But he would make threats like that in the pulpit and talk about how, we got people that can make you disappear and no one will ever hear from you again. Like I told y'all, after I was raped, that's what he told me about my ex, was that he can get rid of him. So these men be pulpit pimping essentially, but really they ain't about that life. They're about being out in the streets and doing shit behind closed doors and then coming to church and praising God and making it seem like they're so holier than thou. But only a dumbass like Dwight would have the audacity to stand in the pulpit and proudly project, talking about I'll go to jail and all that. Y'all hear the shit he's saying here. So imagine how much worse it was when I was a member there and he was walking up in the church doing this shit here, high and drunk as hell. And definitely not off of weed. So that's why when I hear this shit and everybody's all shocked, I'm not. Like I said, he studied his dad's tapes because everything, even just the way he is talking, the inflection in his voice, he sounds identical to his father. And the mentality of, if you come against us, we're going to come get you or we're going to come after you, that's definitely the controlling factor that the pastors and the clergy have over the members. It's an abusive relationship. It's like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And if you speak out against me, then either we're not going to fuck with you or we're going to come for you. And ain't nothing about that godly.
Praise the Lord. That's what you better do. Because that's my wife. And she grown. She didn't need nobody to sign no paperwork for her.
You know why she didn't need anyone to sign paperwork for her? Because he waited until the statutes of limitations on statutory rape had passed by waiting until she turned 18.
Now, if this was out in the streets, y'all be saying she made a come up.
Also, another thing I want to point out, in the state of Iowa, you can get emancipated from your parents at age 16 and become a legal adult. Like, you can't buy liquor or anything like that or buy cigarettes, but if you want to at age 16, you can legally get emancipated and move out of your parents' house, and you can also legally get married without your parents having to sign consent. So even the fact that he's saying this shit during the service proves what we're all talking about. The fact that you're sitting here talking about she didn't have to sign no papers. Let me ask y'all this. What does any of this fuck shit he's talking about have to do with God and people being saved? Which is why they're supposed to be supposedly coming to church. But he, again, is using the pulpit as a weapon of mass destruction on people's mind. Like, I know it sounds funny, and I know I'm giggling because this is so crazy and fucked up. All I can do is laugh at it. But people like him, yeah, I'm used to hearing this type of fucking bullshit. And I remember being one of those people in the audience cheering on all the bullshit that his father used to say when he was in the pulpit.
But you a hypocrite.
But he's not a hypocrite for marrying a teenager. Nigga, fuck you.
So don't you forget the Bible say marriage is honorable.
Bible doesn't say that marriage is honorable between an 18-year-old and 63-year-old, you goddamn piece of shit. I cannot stand this motherfucker.
And the Bible said when you find a wife, you find favor with God, honey. I found...
Actually, dumbass, the scripture says the man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and it does not say you find favor with God. And you have to question, what God are you talking about? Because you ain't talking about the Most High. Now, there's different gods, there's different deities that dwell within this earth, because this earth belongs to the fallen angels. But the Most High God, you cannot sit in this pulpit and act like God is favoring you grooming a teenage girl and marrying her at the age of 18. But do you see how the mental conditioning, how he is conditioning the people in the audience to accept this shit? And y'all hear how they're cheering him on? You're witnessing exactly what I talked about at the beginning of this live.
Some favor with God.
Cue the organ, cue the music. Yeah,
and we're
I remember
sleeping
that.
Good at night.
I'm sure you are stealing all your parents' money.
Everybody up all night worrying about all these crooks.
So the bishop knew the teen before they were in a relationship. He described offering special guidance to her while she was an underage student at the church.
Special guidance? No. That's why I wanted to play this video during my live. Offering her special guidance translated to supervised dates that her father, James Goodlett, not only approved of, but was allegedly on the dates with him. The supervised dates that Dwight had with Jordan, the father was there.
Church at school that the bishop was the dean of.
According to reports, the 19-year-old is Reed's third wife, and despite
correction, DeBrat, and shout out to DeBrat and Judy. They are one of my favorite couples, especially because it is Pride Month. I love y'all, and I love seeing y'all's journey with your son. But Queen, respectfully, this is Dwight's fourth wife, not his third.
The 40-year-old age gap between them, their relationship is completely legal. The legal age of consent in Iowa is 16 years old.
I just told y'all that. Keeping in mind, I live there, and some of the members at our church, one of the pastors in particular, years ago, he married his wife when she was 16 and he was 17. So yeah, that statute of limitations in Iowa, 16, you can legally make those decisions if you want.
Christ Apostolic Temple Reed's church has filed a lawsuit calling for a criminal investigation of Reed by police, claiming the 19-year-old was a victim of clergy abuse. Even though their relationship is legal, many...
I got to correct Brad on this too. It is not Christ Apostolic Temple members that have been calling for the criminal investigation of clergy abuse. It's actually Bishop Senegal, Demetrius Senegal. He is the one that started the criminal investigation a little over a year ago, but definitely more intensely this past year. He's not a member of Christ Apostolic Temple. He's just another pastor that heard about the story and jumped on it. Now, I ain't gonna lie, initially, when Senegal reached out to those of us, who are former members, naturally we're going to be skeptical because it's like, are you just doing this for clout? You know what I'm saying? Like, we as the former members, we lived this. Like, this is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not something, honestly, that any of us even want to talk about, to be honest. Just like me and Maurice said last year, we don't want to talk about this shit because it's embarrassing. It's traumatic. It's triggering. That's why y'all hear me getting so mad about it, because it's triggering all of that shit, not only that I went through, but that several of us went through, that we never got justice for. So I want to set the record straight as a former member of Christ Apostolic Temple, as someone that knows Dwight and Jordan in real life, in real time. It is Demetrius Senegal that called for the criminal investigation because he said that he has an advocacy that, basically protects victims of clergy abuse. So I just want to bring that to y'all's attention. Like I said, I don't know who gave Rickey Smiley Morning Show the details on the story, but some of the details are not actually accurate, in terms of what actually did go down and happen. And that's the reason why I decided to do this live tonight, to talk about this and also to give clarity to it.
He considered the relationship inappropriate, calling it predatory behavior.
So today we want to know your thoughts, Eddie.
Yeah, and it's definitely predatory. For those of y'all that keep saying she's grown, again, if you have a daughter, a niece or nephew or sibling or granddaughter, would you want your 15-year-old fucking a 60-year-old? Would you want that same 15-year-old to be courted by the 60-year-old for 3 years until she's of legal age and then marry her, while banning her side of the family outside of the father only from coming to the wedding? From what Jordan's grandfather said, only James and Garrison were allowed at the wedding, as far as Jordan's side of the family. Her mother was banned, and her mother was not in agreement with it. Even though Gloria does have some mental health issues, she was not in agreement with Jordan marrying Dwight, like most mothers would not be. And again, because we all know who and how Dwight really is behind closed doors.
Even though the legal age of consent in that particular state is 16, was the pastor wrong for marrying her or not?
Of course he was.
What do y'all thought, Brats? What do you thought?
I just think this is weird because he's been courting her or developing her. If he was the dean of her or whatever when she was underage, like this is not good to me. It don't look good. It don't.
And he definitely was the dean of the school. Like I said, what he did is, once people kept gossiping, and this is even before it got public, when people started seeing him and Jordan around town, because again, Des Moines is not very big. When people started seeing the two of them around town, they were gossiping, and some of the members did get upset with Dwight. And some people did leave the church because, just like me, it's like, hell no, you're not finna, the fuck you doing with a teenager? You know what I'm saying? And so there were people that spoke about it. There was people that even confronted him about it. And then some of the members are like, well, it doesn't look right. Even if her father gave you permission, it does not look right because you're the dean of the school. So it looks like not only clergy abuse, but educational instructor abuse, because you're the leader of the school. So think about it. A person who never held a position in a church ever comes into power and money when his father dies. Now you have access to all the money in the world to basically, put out there that you're a sugar daddy, that, hey, I'll financially take care of you if you, do backflips and pussy pop. Like, I'll do it. I'll pay for whatever you want if you just do what I tell you to do. And you think about a teenage girl, how naive and innocent they are, and they're looking at, oh, well, this is the pastor's son, and and he's our leader, and I look up to him. I think about the women that my former stepdad was fucking when we had our church. And that is exactly what they said. Well, he's our leader, and I felt like I could trust him. And then, just one thing led to another because he also was a predator. So it's like, you see and hear all these different things as a kid, as a teenager, as a young woman. And then you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together once you've left all of this corruption, once you're out of it, and you see how this is something that they are all in on together. That is why these different leaders in these churches, so many of them have gotten away with this shit because they're all in on it together. They cover for each other.
Don't feel good. She was too young, and now he's married her now that she's of age. But my goodness, how long has he been grooming her to be his wife?
Well over 3 years, Brad. He was grooming her well over 3 years because he made it known that they had supervised dates when she was 15. How do we know he wasn't in her face and her ear before 15? That's just what you shared with the public. What I know from what your father told me, Dwight, when you had your church in Louisiana, he said you were messing with 12, 13, and 14-year-old girls and boys. Now, this is what your father told us. This is not something I'm making up. This is literally something your father told me and the other SWAT team members, which is why we had to travel there to go pray the spirits out of the church that Dwight was running there. That's why Dwight was never allowed to run another church after Louisiana. So I don't believe that, when she was 15, I just saw something in her as my student and I decided to give her special guidance, meaning, far as I'm concerned, that sound like y'all was fucking. I mean, I don't give a damn. This is my opinion. This is not facts. So yeah, you could say it's alleged, but my opinion is y'all was fucking. And the whole marriage bullshit was to cover up for that. Because again, children talk. What I've even heard from some of Jordan's own friends, because again, these kids didn't grow up and became adults, is that y'all was involved before she was 15. But at 15 is when Dwight decided to publicly date her. And this whole entire situation, the more I even comment on it, is just fucking insane and disgusting.
That's what
That's the disgusting part.
So scary. Maria, I saw that you was taken back. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate at all. I agree with Brad that something must have been going on when she was underage. I mean, even though in Iowa, 16 is a legal age. But yeah, and then for him to say, we sleep good at night. What do you mean by that?
Like, stop.
That's not appropriate. It's too much.
I'm going to assume her father is not in the picture because this sounds
Can't
creepy.
He definitely is in the picture, y'all. Hate to burst y'all bubble. Not only is he in the picture, he agreed to it. He gave Dwight permission to date her. And again, from what her grandpa said, James was on some of the supervised dates. So it's not a matter of her not having a father around. It's about her father being just as big of a piece of shit as Dwight is.
This sounds creepy
because
to me.
I would be dead or in jail.
Yeah,
and we'd be gone from that church.
And what kind of friend group does he have?
You heard how Brett said, and we would be gone from that church far, far away. Quite a few people left, but there's a lot of people that stayed, y'all. And they stayed because, well, you know, she's grown and that's Bishop's son, and Bishop left him the church more like he stole the church from Bishop, but that's a whole separate live. Yeah, a lot of people left, but a lot of people stayed. And the people who stayed are the ones that y'all hear out in the audience that's cheering Dwight on while he's preaching this bullshit.
Have that
No,
he's
the
not
pastor, so
ostracized.
he's got authority, so he don't
Like, I would be creeped out by any one of my friends coming around me with a 19-year-old.
Exactly. Like, and that's the thing too. The people that are around Dwight are yes men because of the amount of money that he came into, because his dad had a lot of money. Jeremiah Reed was very wealthy. These people are in agreement with Dwight because he finances them. Like, there's somebody here in Houston who, as much as I can't consider you a friend because you're two-faced. But your sister works at this church. And she was supposed to be leaving the church to move to Texas. But she stayed because he pays her salary. So think about it. If he has employees that are getting paid by the church, which again, that's crazy because none of us that were on the TV broadcast ever get paid when we started this shit. None of us got paid. We did all that work for free. But all these people who are in agreement and going along with it, well, it's because he's their meal ticket. So he's in a position of power now. You have all these people working under you, all these people in position to, you know, basically continue the church, continue the broadcast, continue all the different business ventures that you started under the church's name because you inherited it. And they're all getting paid by you. So you think they're going to hold him accountable? You think they're going to leave or come against him or speak out? No. You know what they do? They stay silent. They don't say shit at all. They don't agree. They don't deny. They just don't say shit. Because if they don't, that's what they said. Well, if I don't say nothing, then, you know, I'm not in agreement with it. I said, but your silence is compliance, my love. Because common sense, fuck the church, fuck religion. Common sense would tell you to leave a church where the pastor is clearly grooming a teenage girl and then marrying her. But when there is such a thing as a stronghold, and for this cause God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. There's another scripture about strongholds that came to me. Give me a second. And I forgot to bookmark it. Wait, what? That's it. Is it Ephesians 6? Hold up. I'm going to find it. It might be Ephesians 6. Because, yeah, a stronghold is when reprobate mind. Where is that scripture at? Oh, this is not it. Hold on. Hold up. Because for years they used the reprobate mind scripture to preach against homosexuality. Romans 1:28. There we go. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator. For this cause, God gave him up to vile affections. Men leaving the nature of the women, burning their lust for one another, men working with men. Yep. And that whole thing, like I said, that'll be a separate live as far as homosexuality. But at the end of the day, because homosexuality is not what they've taught in these churches. Anyways, when there is a stronghold over your mind, you're going to believe the creature more than the creator. And you're going to follow what that pastor tells you because it's been instilled in your mind that this is the quote unquote watchman or watchwoman for your soul. These churches taught us that women were second tier to men and that women are to be silent and do whatever the man tells them to do. I can remember Bishop Reed even teaching, there's a scripture that talks about not defrauding your spouse. And he would teach that meant sex, meaning a woman can't withhold sex from her husband. And he would say, if you don't do it, he'll either go out and find somebody else that'll do it, or he'll take it from you. Take it means rape. I remember hearing this, that if you're married, you better give it up, because if you don't, he'll go out and get it from someone else, or he'll take it from you. And women are second tier, and you're supposed to do whatever your husband. This is what his father taught us. And I can remember sitting in that congregation, this was taught way before I was ever raped. And the mental conditioning, I would be like, doesn't that mean rape? If he's saying, like, I remember asking the people I was cool with, like, don't that mean rape if he's saying a man could take it? So basically you're saying if a woman doesn't want to have sex with her husband because she don't feel well, that gives him permission to go out and be a hoe or to rape her. So you got to think about the mind, the mentality behind these so-called preachers and the conditioning that they do with a lot of broken, wounded people who have suffered trauma, the way that it's so easy to control their minds. Because only mind control could have a congregation sitting up celebrating a wedding and a marriage between a teenage girl and a whole entire senior. Because after 55, you're considered a senior, Dwight, in case you didn't know.
Oh, girlfriend, like you couldn't hang around me.
But I think we missing the point, though. She is an adult. She's an adult, and some younger women like older men, so she might just like him as being an older man.
Now, Gary with the T. Now, Gary. I understand he's trying to play devil's advocate, but this whole conversation is speculation. None of these people know Dwight in real life, or Jordan. I actually do. It is very possible, again, if she suffered some sort of childhood trauma with an older man and or older male relative, very possible that she could like older men. I just don't believe that Jordan at 15 looked at Dwight and was like, oh my God, I want to fuck him. Like, I'm gonna be real. I don't see that happening. I don't see Jordan looking at this old ass man and being like, yeah, I want to be with him, especially after her grandfather came on Clubhouse and detailed how she broke down in tears and tried to, he said, escape Again, these are her grandfather's words, that she cried and did not want to go through with the wedding and quote unquote tried to escape. What was she escaping from? Escape means, were you locked up? Were you in a cage? I'm serious, like, because her grandfather's the one that told us all this. This is James's father. And he's like, she did not want to go through with it. And I guess after a while, James had a talk with her and convinced her that it would be a good move for their family financially. And the next thing you know, there's the photos circulating of her sitting on Dwight's lap in a whole wedding gown. Oh, and by the way, their wedding was on a Monday during the day when most people are at work.
And stuff like that, because she probably dated younger men and they weren't worth a quarter. So just get with an older man, somebody that.
And then Gary, now, like I said, I have respect for him, but that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Talking about she probably dated younger men. Nigga, she was 15. So her dating younger men means like 12 and 13-year-olds. So you mean to tell me that she, which I know for a fact she didn't, because she's a church girl. So only dating you're doing is possibly going to the movies or going to dinner. And that's all we were allowed to do, if even that. She was not dating 12 and 13-year-old boys, and at 15 decided to set her sights on Dwight. Dwight is a predator. Dwight pursued her and convinced her that all this special attention, and you got to think about a teenage girl. Like, I think about when I was 15. When you're a teenager and you start to get attention, it makes you feel good. You know, it's an ego boost if an older man looks at you. Now, me personally, when I was in church and I was her age, because of course I was developing my shape and everything at 15, the older men that looked at me in a lustful way creeped me out. And I would tell my mom about it. Like, brother so-and-so or deacon so-and-so or pastor so-and-so looked at me and made a comment about my shape, and it made me feel uncomfortable. There was never nothing in me that saw an older dude and was like, oh, I want to get with him. It always freaked me out. I always felt just weird about it. So Gary with the T, sorry, boo, but your explanation is a little crazy.
You know, giving her everything she missed at home and, live her life.
And then talking about, well, maybe this older man gave her everything she was missing at home. The Goodlets were very well off. She wasn't missing shit at home. James' family has always had money. The Goodlets, I mean, they're doctors and attorneys, like they were like the real life version of the Huxtables. There was nothing she was missing at home. That girl didn't want for nothing. She didn't get with Dwight because he's wealthy. It was literally a business arrangement between James, her father, Garrison, and Dwight, according to Jordan's grandfather. This was a business arrangement, period.
Absolutely disgusting. I don't know. It's just the optic, just something is not right about that.
She's barely an adult.
It's just, say what, Maria?
Being an older man and stuff like that, because she probably dated younger men and they weren't worth a quarter. So just get with an older man, somebody that, giving her everything she missed at home and, live her life.
Absolutely disgusting. I don't know. It's just the optic, just something is not right about that.
She's barely an adult.
It's just, say what, Maria?
She was a student.
She's barely an adult.
Yeah, she was a student in a church school, and he was the dean.
I'm still tripping
so he's
on how
had his eye on her for years.
Exactly, Brad. Exactly. And what Brad just said, I said last year during my live, and everybody wanted to DM me and start talking shit. I was like, if he married her at 18 and she was a student at the temple at the academy, and they started having supervised dates at 15, that means he was looking at her before she was 15. So that means you're the dean of the school and you're scanning the students to see which teenage girl you can pick out to love bomb and give all this attention to, and to start grooming to make her feel like who you are in your position of authority is safe, and that, I'm going to give you the world. I'm going to give you all this money, and you'll have property, and you'll have a home. And think about a teenage girl. Oh, I don't have to work, girl. I could come up. You know what I'm saying? Like when Dwight Brad talking about if she was in the streets, y'all would say she made a come up. Y'all heard this nigga say this shit out of his own mouth. Feeling like her being with him because of the money is a quote unquote a come up. What part of that is godly? What part of that is marriage unit or marriage and union and unity? It's all about money and image and how things look. It's disgusting.
Right. He been grooming her.
And he knows what's going on in her life. He's probably been counseling her.
He knows
she
her
knows
weaknesses.
she doesn't have a father probably in the.
Now, counseling her, yeah, when he talked about giving her special attention, yeah, he was counseling her, but it wasn't because her father wasn't around. Her father was right goddamn there. In agreement, approving, all of that.
The picture. Like, I don't like this. I don't like it.
And then the other layer of it is that he, as the bishop of the church, it's almost like he's normalizing this behavior, making it acceptable.
It's not good.
So
where's her mother?
So, and the other thing is, when you got those ministries that don't have a deacon board and a trustee board,
they got a deacon board. Unfortunately, some of the deacons on the board have been accused of the same shit.
And there's no accountability when the pastor runs everything.
That's the reason why nobody's holding him accountable, because they're all doing the same shit together.
That's why you got a lot of.
And I'm going to say this, when I was trying to expose this, when I was a member there, and there were other people that were hearing about these things as well, it was like, oh, well, everyone who's talking about this is lying. Everyone who's saying this is making it up. They're just against the pastor. They're just against the church. Everybody ain't goddamn lying, bro. Straight up.
People that ran from a deacon board and a trustee board, because it's just like the mayor running the city without a city council. It's like the president running the country without a Congress. There's no check and balance.
Exactly. What he just said is just like the president running the country without any Congress. That's exactly what Christ Apostolic is right now. There's no accountability, because everyone who is under him that are in positions of authority are all financially benefiting from him being in that position.
Or whatever, because had he had a deacon board and a trustee board, it probably would have been a problem. But let's go back to the
it's not going to be a problem when they all doing the same shit.
It said that they're investigating. They said, let me see, the church. So the church has filed a lawsuit calling for a criminal investigation of Reed by the police, claiming the 19-year-old was a victim of clergy abuse. So even though their relationship is legal, many consider the relationship inappropriate, calling it predatory behavior. And that would have been good to have an attorney jump on this morning to just give us just a legal aspect of it, especially if they live in that particular state and know those particular state's laws. Let's go to the phones. 866-9-RICKY, 866-9-RICKEY. I want to know your thoughts. Good morning.
Yes, I'm calling from Winsfield, Missouri. Yeah, he know he wrong. Yeah, she gonna be the death of him. That's what's gonna happen. I ain't trying to be bad, but that's gonna be right.
That's the lady comment that I had heard the first time I watched it. I was like, actually, there's a lot of comments and they call him a predator and everything. Actually, their son is going to be the death of her, and he is going to be the death of himself because he's going to get killed after he gets locked up.
I'm calling from Fort Lauderdale, and yes, he was dead wrong. He was even more disgusting by following her since she was like 13 or 14. That's disgusting. That's a predator.
Now that right there, the fact that lady said that and don't even know the story tells you, like, she just confirmed what I just said. You've been watching this girl since she was at least 12, 13 years old. You had to have been. And like I said, I think about all the older men that would comment on my body and my shape when I was 14, because that's when I really started like get my shape or whatever. And and then me being an empath too, like I could feel that predator energy. And keep in mind, these are people at the church. These are ministers, these are deacons, these are pastors, these are preachers. And they would make, when my mom and them wasn't around, like if I went to the bathroom, I remember when I first had got this one little black dress, one of the pastors was like, girl, you wearing that dress, yeah, you're going to be fine when you get older. These are the types of men that be lingering in these churches that y'all be having y'all kids around. Thinking because it's a church, your child is safe, not knowing that a lot of these men be actual predators looking for young women and men to be able to manipulate and groom and take advantage of.
My name is Leroy Laws. I'm calling from Baltimore, Maryland. No, the pastor is not wrong because she is of legal age. Would I do it? No, because that's a child to me. But legally, he's right. Morally, no.
I'm calling from Snellville, Georgia, and yes, absolutely, the pastor was wrong, out of order, and disgusting.
Yes, I do. He was dead wrong. That's just borderline pedophilia.
Hey, good morning. I'm calling from North Carolina, and absolutely, yes, I think his old grandpa self should not be marrying no one that's young enough to be his great-great-granddaughter.
And
So,
why is the legal age 16
That's
in
what
that
I'm
state?
saying.
So I just looked some stuff up. In Iowa, there is a 3-year limit, statute of limitations for felonies and misdemeanors. So if the legal age is 16 and she's 19 now, the statute of limitations would be up.
Wow.
So maybe that was his.
And see, that's why he waited until she was 18, about to turn 19, to marry her, because he knew that if anyone tried to bring criminal charges against him, he would get locked up for a felony for statutory rape. And again, Dwight has been accused of statutory rape before. That's how he knew what to do in this situation. When I tell you like how everything's coming full circle, all the shit I used to hear when I was 19 years old, when I was a member there, about him. And then, like I said, me being on their spiritual warfare attack team, and his father, revealing stuff to that team about his son and about the church and all the spiritual shit that was going on. She is absolutely right. He waited until it was the end of the statute of limitations so that no one could bring criminal charges against him. But what he doesn't understand is that depending upon the attorney and evidence that can be found, and if it can be proven, he can still get locked up. And seeing as how I've had multiple premonitions of this man being in prison and the church being shut down and chains on the door, mark my fucking words, it's just a matter of time before he gets locked up and that church is shut down. And that is what I'm praying for, because if the church is still up and going, then the mind control, the manipulation, the mental conditioning, and the brainwashing will continue. Maybe if it does get shut down, some people's mind will be set free. But unfortunately, there's going to be those that are still going to be diehard, do whatever the pastor says, will try to come up with money to restart the church. I mean, because it's brainwashing. It's like what y'all are, what these people on this video and other viewers are not understanding is what it's like to be under a church that brainwashes you. I know firsthand what that's like. And that is why when people ask me about going to church or religion, I'm dead set against it, because of the trauma and the things that I have encountered growing up in church and growing up in these types of churches, I'll say. That's why I don't identify with any religion. I don't call myself a Christian. I'm none of that. I'm a spiritualist. I'm the manifestation of the Most High God. Yes, I believe in Christ. Yes, I all of that. But religion and all this extra bullshit, what you're seeing now is the manifestation of that. Because there's no way, if a person is on a higher vibration, meaning connected to source, connected to the Most High, there's no way a situation like this could even happen, because your mind, your mental state will not allow you to lower yourself to become someone who is a pedophile or a groomer or a sexual predator, because healing will come in and take place. But when people are not healed, then you have bullshit like this, where, what did it say? 2 Thessalonians, I will give them strong delusions so that they'll believe a lie. Where is it at? And for this cause, God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. These people really believe, that are members of this church, that Dwight being with Jordan is okay. And that he's not, even my mom, and I love my mom to life, she's like, well, I don't believe he was, having sex with her before they got married. I said, why not? Again, they will believe a lie. It's crazy. And the more I think about this, I thank God I got out of this shit. I really thank God that, as painful as it was for me to leave, and I left everything and everyone I know when I left this church, I thank God every day that I did, because that could be me right now, sitting in that congregation cheering this shit on, because this is Bishop Reed's son. So, we have to support him. This is the pastor's son, so we have to support him. That's the mentality of the members sitting in the congregation of this fucking cult, because it's not a goddamn church, it's a fucking cult.
Strategy the whole time.
That was the game plan.
That
If he was
probably
doing
the game
anything
plan
to her before she was of legal age, but even if he was doing something when she was 16, he was still 50. He was still
but it's legal. But once she's 19, it's okay. Once she's 19, he's clear.
Yeah.
It is wrong.
Ain't nobody. I'm 50. Ain't nobody in their 20s attracted to me. I don't care what they body.
Exactly. Hell, I'm only 42. I don't want nobody that's in their 20s, because they're annoying. They're annoying. They don't know shit. The fuck? What do I have in common with a 20-year-old outside of teaching them some shit? That's about it.
Look like that's not attractive to me.
You know what's crazy though and scary is all the people in the video who go to the church
cheering him on,
who were cheering him on and validating what he was saying. So
there's y'all answer. Strong delusion. Yeah. Stronghold. That's why.
There were people agreeing with him. That scares me.
And it's not Christ-like to say, I go to jail. What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Christ-like at Christ Apostolic Temple. Same place where they had a shooting during his father's funeral. Oh, to them, yeah, that's Christ-like. That's definitely Christ-like to them.
We sleep good
whatever,
at night.
Whatever
like,
you got to say to her, you going to say it to me. I go to jail. Like, okay, I don't know no bishop that would say they would go to jail or like that.
Brad, my love, that's because he's not a bishop. He's a thug. He is a self-appointed presiding bishop who is a wannabe thug. That's why.
And why is he a bishop? What? And he's a bishop?
He's a bishop because he made himself a bishop. Literally, I'm answering all their questions of confusion as they speculate. He is a bishop because he literally put himself in that position. Bishop Gilmore was actually supposed to be the presiding bishop of Christ Apostolic Temple when his father Jeremiah Reed died, because he was the second in command under Bishop Jeremiah Reed. From what I was told, there was conflicts within the organization between Bishop Gilmore and Dwight, because initially when Jeremiah Reed was still living, he said, I would rather put Bishop Gilmore as a presiding bishop than Dwight, because Dwight doesn't have any experience running the church. Because like I told y'all, he was never a member of the church. It wasn't until after Bishop Reed died that Dwight got into it with Gilmore. And from what I was told, supposedly threatened him, allegedly. And Bishop Gilmore left the organization and started his own. And under his leadership, my uncle James, that died from COVID, was under him. So at that point, if the second in command to the presiding bishop leaves the organization and the board members voted in Dwight because, well, that's his biological son, even though he doesn't have any experience whatsoever running the church outside of the one he ran in Louisiana that he got locked up from, that's how he got into this position. Think about it. The church loses its pastor. They're grieving. They're vulnerable. Why not have the son run the church, even though he's never ran the church ever since Gilmore left? So again, I'm giving context and clarity to their speculation as a former member of Christ Apostolic Temple.
Yeah.
That's insane. Hey, if y'all could not get through, if y'all couldn't get through the phone lines, y'all hit us up on our IG or Facebook. Let us know what you think. We're gonna be reading the comments. We might play some of the clips.
So yeah, I just wanted to share that video with y'all because all this corruption that goes on in these churches, and all this stuff going on, it goes on because nobody checks it. Nobody does anything about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody speaks out against it. So it just continues until someone does stand up against it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this live. For those who are interested, the scripture I was reading is from 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 11. And it is late. It's almost 1 o'clock. And I am about to end this subject. For those who have comments or have things to say or want to reach out, you can DM me on Instagram. All of my social media tag is the same at DzPeepz on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. This subject is not something I like to talk about, but it's something that has to be talked about because it has to stop. And above all, the Most High is stopping it. That's why Dwight's getting exposed, because the Most High is not pleased with what has been going on. So after tonight, the focus will be back on my DzPeepz, my channel, my editing, my production, my music, my cooking shows, the different music artists and, people I've connected with. Again, shout out to all of y'all. Thank you, DzPeepz, all those of y'all who have tuned in tonight. Thank you to everybody who has been liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. For those who have not, please like, share, and subscribe to @DzPeepz on YouTube. You can follow me on TikTok. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And y'all have a good night.